This is listener-supported community radio KAAD-LP 103.5 on your FM dial, Sonora, California, and streaming on www.kaad-lp.org. I am Katie Stine with the Golden Nuggets of the Motherlode, brought to you by the Sonora Writers Group and Tuolumne County Art. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Wendy Ledger. Wendy Ledger lives in Twain, Harte, California with her husband and 3 cats. She is the author of 2 coming-of-age novels, Joy Returns and Kate and the Horses, and a talking cat fantasy series, Cats of the Afterlife, currently consisting of The Loudest Meow, The Sharpest Claw, and The Deepest Growl, coming out in September of 2020. All of her books are available on Amazon. Kate and the Horses, The Loudest Meow, and The Sharpest Growl are currently available in audiobook form on Audible. The Deepest Growl audiobook will be out on Audible later this fall. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, Katie. Good to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It's nice to turn the tables on you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Well, as you have delved into so many of our local writers' backgrounds, I would like to do the same for you. So what is it that made you start writing?
I was the quintessential bookworm when I was growing up. I just loved books. I escaped into them. I devoured them. You know, I was the kind of kid who'd be like reading the book in the car and just being really mad if it was dark outside and, just trying to read under the streetlights. I was that kind of a kid. So to me, like, writers were really impressive people, and I wanted to be one.
Was there anything in particular that you read that was more inspiring, or things that you reread a lot?
Yeah, I was a big Little Women's fan. I reread that a ton of times. And I loved the Frances Hodgson Burnett's, like those classics like The Secret Garden and The Little Princess.
Mhm.
Really related to those two as well. Yeah, and Charlotte's Web. I was a big Charlotte's Web fan.
Yes, absolutely. And so you got older,
Mhm.
and did your reading passion still maintain?
Pretty much so, but I have a cautionary tale to tell.
Oh.
I actually went the academic route, and I got a master's in creative writing, and it wasn't the greatest experience for me. I was chosen to teach afterwards and stuff like that. So in terms of success at the academic aspect of it, I did well, but emotionally, uh, I felt that the whole idea of just turning out things and getting critiqued all the time and not really I'm not really sure how graduate schools do it now, but when I went to graduate school, it was the workshop method, which was
Yes.
basically like you just turn in your stuff and you get it critiqued, and there wasn't a lot of talk about craft and
Yeah.
how to structure a novel, how that goes. So I ended up thinking, I went in going, I really want to write a novel, and I came out going like, I'm burnt out, and I don't think I could ever write a novel. It just seems beyond me. So
I relate to that.
yes.
So do you have any craft advice to give to other writers?
Yeah, I really love Save the Cat Writes a Novel. That has been my favorite craft book that I've read so far, because there's a lot of craft books that have a lot of like graphs and tables in it and stuff, and my mind just does not work that way. Where Save the Cat has a lot of like lists. I'm a big list person, so it
Yeah.
has a novel is composed of 3 acts, and here are the elements, here are the beats that have to be in each act, and here's where it should be in the story. So to me, that just gives me some kind of grounding in what I'm doing.
So
So
when you are plotting your novels, are you using note cards, or do you have a bulletin board, or what's your method for plotting to keep that all organized?
yeah, first I always buy a notebook at the beginning of my new book venture,
Hmm.
and the first thing I do is I just write in my notebook. I write lists of ideas I have. I write paragraphs. I write clusters of things until I feel like kind of written out. I use a program called Scrivener on my computer, and Scrivener has this lovely feature called the bulletin board, digital bulletin board. And so then I just basically I get out my notebook again, and I put the points that I like on the cards. So it's still not in order or anything. It's just a bunch of things about a story that I liked.
Mhm.
And then I organize the card in order, in story order, what I think it is. And then I look at the Save the Cat beats, and I see if what I thought of as a story, whether it kind of corresponds to those beats. And then I think, wow, okay, I've got it all figured out. I have it all figured out. Then I start writing linearly, and right now I'm on chapter 2 of my new draft. And like I've already I'm already like this one character is like, hey, I would like some more time. So I'll have
That
to see how that
that absolutely happens.
I know.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really fun when that happens, actually. I really that's really cool to hear. Is this this next draft that you have, is this also in your fantasy series, or is this a new standalone?
This will wrap up this part of the story of the talking cats in the afterlife. I'm not saying that I won't write more in this world because I love these characters, and uh, I could easily see myself going back to them. But this fourth book, The Gentlest Purr, will be the final of this part of the story.
Mm,
So, and then I want to do like 2 standalones. I think I have some ideas for 2 books, and I want to do that next.
fantastic. Well, so in addition to writing these books and publishing them, but you also do audiobooks of your work.
I do.
That is a kind of a unique thing. Not every author does that. So, can you give any hints about how to make that happen or your process?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm a person who probably about a year and a half ago, I made the switch to reading through listening. Like I just listen to audiobooks as opposed to reading any books because I'm a very auditory person, and I just really enjoy listening to stories. So that's what I do. So it was a big dream of mine to get my books in audiobook form because that's my favorite way to enjoy books. I went through a company called Findaway Voices, and when you go through that company, you can make a choice saying like, I don't have a narrator. I want to go through a casting process with you. And so I did, and I found my narrator, Kay Marie Danino, and she's like now my narrator. And I actually work for her now too as a proofer for her. I just really enjoy her work, and I think that she really understands my characters very well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is this something that you would advise for everybody, or do you think just some stories work better that way?
I am I'm probably like, I'm probably, I would say every book should be in audible form, but I'm biased, just because I know that there are just some people, older people who have vision problems, so it's a way for them to continue to be able to enjoy their books. Kids with learning problems or literacy problems, still a way for them to catch up and to
Mhm.
be able to hear the stories. And to me, I don't know, I just love hearing all the different character voices and stuff. And I had on this one, The Deepest Growl, which will be coming out later this year, the audiobook version. I had a friend of mine who's a pianist compose a little like opening credit music and closing credit music. It's just wonderful. So I'm just so delighted. I was like, Jim, imagine cats in the afterlife. What would that music sound like? He's like, I'm on it. So
That sounds very fortunate. That's a great way to round up the book, is to have that kind of little.
oh, it's very jazzy. Yeah, I feel very, very fancy now.
Well, so the Deepest Growl is coming out soon, September 2020. Is there? So this will be third in the series of what it
Hmm.
sounds like, 4 total.
Yeah,
So can you tell us more
absolutely.
about? Well, let's give a recap of what number 1 is about.
Okay, so number one, like the general theme of number one is acceptance of death. Okay,
Mhm.
so the calico cat Jam dies, and she goes to the afterlife, and she doesn't feel that it's her time to go. So she has to go through a series of lessons and challenges, and wanting to go back so much, wanting to have her life back so much the way it was.
Mhm.
and having to come to some acceptance about where she is and who she's with now and what's going on. So that's book
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So book two, Jem feels more secure in the afterlife. She's like,
Mhm.
yes, I'm supposed to be here. And then she learns that she still has things to learn. She was one of those cats who was abandoned early in life, wasn't mothered, never learned how to play, doesn't know they have the social skills that most cats would have. So in
Mm.
this second book, she has to learn how to play, and her teachers are her who she considers are her arch enemies, which are these kittens that her Earth family had the gall to adopt once she was gone. So
Mm.
they are her. They're supposed to be her teachers in this because they know how to play like anything.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the whole idea of like as a human when you're a kid and all of a sudden the new baby comes and all of a sudden you're not so hot anymore and the baby's just everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that variation on that theme. And then in book three, The Deepest Growl, Jem has a job in the afterlife. She's amused. She's going to be amused to her friend and family member Marmalade the orange cat, who's writing her literary memoirs. And so it's all about creativity and writing and finding the best way for you to write and supporting artists and that kind of finding your voice. That's what that one's
Kind of
about.
kind of a meta moment for you.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of meta moments. Yes, me and my husband are both featured in the book. So I'm Molly and he's Nick. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can look out for you there.
Yeah. And Kay gave us really wonderful voices. I got a movie star voice, so.
Ooh. Um, would you like to read from that right now?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just going to read just a tiny bit from the beginning. Okay, oh, here it is. All right. So this is just the opening. Chapter 1, Jem the Muse. In the afterlife, Jem, a calico cat, sat on a bed, staring at a monitor. She watched the home feed, where two black and white kittens peered back at her from a house where she used to live on Earth. I just want you to know, the calico told the two, that you don't have to call me Muse or Jem the Muse. You can still call me Jem. Last night, something amazing happened. Jem had been honored. The cats threw her a party, and Alistair, a Persian cat of great importance, had declared that Jem was now officially a muse. The kittens had watched it all from the home feed in their living room, but Jem just wanted to make sure they understood all that had happened. At least that's what she told herself. After all, they were so young. They might not understand the importance of Jem's new title. She might be boasting a bit too. After all, it wasn't every day that a cat was elevated to such a position. The male kitten, resplendent in his tuxedo fur, cocked his head and looked positively puzzled. Why are you whispering? Sebastian asked. His companion, Squeak, frowned. She was a girl known for the beauty mark that covered the left side of her lip and for her confidence, wide and deep as the ocean. Do I hear power tools? Jem moved closer to the home feed. Marmalade's right behind me, Jem said, as softly as she could. She's still asleep. The orange cat formed quite a mountain under the covers, and the blankets shook from her snores. Now that I'm her muse, Jem whispered, I want to make sure that she's well rested so that every day is a productive writing day. The kittens did not look properly impressed. Squeak even yawned. She's writing her memoir, Jem continued, the first in a series to chronicle her many lives. Alistair said they're going to sell like hotcakes. The Persian cat hadn't really used those words. In fact, Jem imagined that Alistair would be horrified at being associated with anything in the pancake family. But he had talked about prizes and awards, and he had even said that Marmalade wrote literature. Or did Marmalade say that? If she did, the orange cat probably first heard it from Alistair, a cat Jem had never particularly cared for before. She had found him to be bossy and pretentious and a bit intimidating. But now that he'd given her this title, she had to revise her opinion. He was perceptive, wise. He could spot talent and reward it. Sebastian took a moment to scratch at a flea. When he looked up again, he asked, "Do you really know how to be a muse?" The calico cat had never known that she could harumph. Apparently, she had that skill. "Of course I do," she said, forgetting her whisper. "I was a muse to Molly on Earth." Before coming to the afterlife, Jim had lived with Molly, her husband Nick, and the magnificent, once feral cat named Rusty. Now the kittens were a part of that household. "I can't believe you don't know this bit of family history," Jim said. "I'll have to tell you all about it." The kittens had a look on their faces that the calico cat had rarely seen. They looked polite. "Or maybe I should start off with an afterlife story," Jim said. "Did you know I fought off some truly evil cats?" She lowered her voice. "Their names were Jasmine and Terrence, and they were after my shine." The kittens looked a bit bewildered. "Did I never tell you about my shine?" Jen said. "How this is my first time here and I had a shine around my head like a halo because I was so innocent and inexperienced?" "Apparently," she told the kittens, "grifter cats like to steal that shine. They suck it into their energy field and get quite a boost, or so I'm told." She expected gasps and shiny eyes and quite a few questions. Instead, she heard the sound of a flap. The kitten's head swiveled away from the camera. Squeak jumped down right away. Before Sebastian followed her, he looked back at Jim. "Excuse us," he said. "Rusty has just come in the cat door. We have to go hear all the news." "And what is he going to tell you?" Jim said to the now empty screen. "He caught a cricket? Or some new blades of grass have sprung up by the driveway? I defeated grifters. I was a muse. I am a muse." That's it.
Well, thank you. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So you use some really good words in there, words like resplendent. Um, what do you think your audience for these books are? Because I mean, talking cats, you generally think, young adult, middle grades.
Right,
You have
right.
pretty heavy subjects in there.
I know. I do. So, but the kids that have loved these books, they're really smart. They love to read. They're like I was when I was a kid.
Mhm.
They love to read and they get the words and they get the emotions. And so some of it is just smart middle graders on up, and also just people like me who are kind of eccentric and love cats and just love to imagine these kind of worlds.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Would you say there's any difference between writing your standalone, like Kate and the Horses, versus a series like this?
Yeah. Um, and Katie, you probably will relate to this writing a series yourself, but to me, the second book was really hard in this series. But after that, the characters really, make their points known.
Mhm.
There's been things in the series that have occurred, characters that have taken center stage that I had no idea that they were going to do that. But they spoke up and said, "I want to have a bigger part in this story," and they made their case.
Mhm.
So in that way, you have like a continuum going on. It's something that continues, characters and themes and things that evolve from each other. Whereas in a standalone, it's a kind of a one-shot deal. You have these characters for this moment, and then they go on to do their thing without
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Well, you said you've got some ideas for some upcoming standalones, so it sounds like
Mhm.
you're okay with going back to that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of looking forward to, even though I feel guilty even saying it because I love the cat so much, and I'm really enjoying working on this book that I'm working on now. But there are some things that I want to write about that are in a different world. Yeah.
Yeah. Still be writing young adults, you think, or middle
Oh
grade?
yeah, 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 yeah. One's gonna have to do with dinosaurs.
Oh,
I
that's
was, yeah, when I was a kid, I had an awesome art class, which was after school, that was at the Natural History Museum in our town. So Francis was my teacher,
mhm.
and I would go in there. We could draw, do whatever we wanted, wherever we wanted, and so I could just sit down by the dinosaurs and like draw them, or just have my back to them, but they would still be there. I just really had a thing about dinosaurs, and so I'm looking forward to. I've got a couple of dinosaur book series and stuff that I'm gonna once I finish Purr, that I'll be looking at those books and seeing what comes up out of that.
Fantastic. Yeah, dinosaurs are a big hit at my house too.
Yeah.
So my guy is both terrified and intrigued.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah.
so what are you reading right now,
Oh
or listening
no.
to, rather?
Okay, so I have to tell you, this is kind of funny. Well, I don't know if it's funny or not, but so during this COVID time,
Hmm.
uh, and even before then, for a while, I was just reading domestic thrillers. So lots of books where, particularly women were main characters, and they were thrown into these super challenging situations and had to figure out a way to get out of them. So
Hmm.
it seemed apropos.
Yes.
But 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 for the past week and a half, somehow I've segued into romantic comedy novels.
Mm.
So I don't know if you're familiar with Jasmine Guillory.
Oh, yes. Yes, I am.
She has a wonderful narrator for all her books. I'm on the third of her books now. I started out of order with her. I started with The Proposal first, and then
Ah,
I went back to Wedding
the-
Date.
I think I might like Wedding Date more than I liked The Proposal.
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe I'm more of a proposal gal.
Oh, well, they
But
were both very entertaining, and the highlight of food in your novels is wonderful.
it is really wild. I was just like, okay, like this guy's a doctor. And they're like, and we'll have pizza again. And well, no,
Yeah, all the donuts, so much donuts.
so many donuts. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. But the thing that I love about her books I've been thinking about today is the way she's doing it. Would you consider it a series? I would consider it a series, what she's doing.
Yeah.
But different characters. Like I just started three, and I'm like, okay, Maddie is the star of this one. Maddie, it looks like Maddie and Theo are going to get their time in this on center stage on this one.
Oh, yeah, and
So
what's the name of the third one?
oh
I haven't read
gosh,
the third one. Is that
wedding party or something like that. I can't remember. I just started it, and she starts, and it's very interesting. She starts with a scene that this is book three, and she starts with a scene that was told in book two, but it's a scene now told from another perspective.
Ah,
Yeah,
clever.
yeah. So, but she says grin a whole bunch. If I was her editor, I'd be just like, you got to get rid of some of those grins.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that as a writer, you still learn a lot as a reader. It's one of those things that you get to be both. Even if you're
Right,
not writing, you still are a reader. Or
right. And you can think about the structure. Like if I was writing this book, this is what the ending would be, and I would be disappointed if they don't address this issue by the end in some way. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I personally, I keep a lookout for the objects, like which object is going to be the one that returns later in the story that's going to have some sort of significance. So I always keep an eye out for those too.
Yeah, yeah. And that sometimes I just go like, I am really rooting for this couple. I know they will at the end.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'm going to be super disappointed, but I am really rooting for them. And
Yeah.
like, why? Why am I rooting for them so much? Why do I like them so much? So
So
it's interesting.
with your books being for a younger audience, do you have any love stories in yours?
You know what? They are demanding it now. I cannot believe it. They are. There's this one, I tell you, there's this one character named Skinny. Skinny has been in every book, and he was never intended to be, he was just intended to be like a walk-off character. He was going to be just a guy that he was the first cat that Jem met in the afterlife, and he was just rude and just nasty. And so I thought that's his job. Okay, you're done. But then he showed up in the next book, and he had he had more scenes, and then I had to tell my narrator, I was like, Skinny is going to be a major character in book 3, and he has a really big part. She's like, but I gave him this screechy voice. I know. I know. But I put in the book that, he'd gotten more responsibility. He'd made some friends, and he had just kind of softened, including his voice. So, but he's become a really main character. And again, in book 4, Skinny is a hot commodity, man.
The whole like Mr. Darcy vibe happening with him.
Yeah, well, it was really funny. I was just writing last night, like this celebrity journalist is like projecting this James Dean vibe on Skinny, but he's just super earnest. She just doesn't understand. He's shy, but she thinks he's a James Dean, and he's not. He's just earnest. he's kind of.
I like it. It's the enemies to lovers trope.
Yeah, exactly. So I never would have guessed. But yeah, it seems like they're just demanding a little, at least innuendo and stuff in this one, and I'm shocked that it's happening.
Your cats have demanded some romance.
Yes.
They do that, though. They do that.
They really do. So I think that as the official timekeeper, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we're really good. So I'm gonna give it to you for the ending, and thank you so much for doing this, Katie.
Yeah, no, this was really fun. I'm sorry I was just a little flustered in the beginning, just trying to shift gears.
Oh, I think it's the times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and my work has switched me over to very early shifts, so I start at 6:50 in the morning. So it's
that would be extremely difficult for me. I would have that feeling that I feel like I've been run over by a truck. That feeling, I would have that feeling constantly.
The first half of the day is not bad, but like around 1:00, I started to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Yeah. Well, I super appreciate it. And we'll be talking again soon when your new book comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a February 1st date. So hopefully talk to you maybe, I don't know, December-ish.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. We'll see how things go.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about it. It's out at a sensitivity readers right now. So we'll see. Thank you so much, Wendy. And thank you to our sponsors, the Sonora Writers Group and Tuolumne County Arts, and to the kind folks at KAAD-LP 103.5 FM, streaming at kaad-lp.org. Goodbye.